Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, I want to share with you my bolt action army lists. That's right, plural, for I commanded several armies in a huge D-Day battle. It was a big 2-day event, there were a dozen players involved, thousands of points, and it was so much fun. And these are the forces that I used and that I was in command of during this, frankly, epic occasion. And of course, dear viewers, I took lots of pictures and I will be doing an after-action report for that big game, getting into the nitty-gritty detail, the terrible lows and the incredible highs. And if you want to make sure you don't miss that episode, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you like what you see here today, don't forget to smash that like button as well. But with all that said, I know why you guys are really here. Let's mount up, roll out, and dive right into this thing. You there! Are you sick of languishing at home with nothing to do, wanking, eating expensive German biscuits, and just generally wasting your life? Well, I have got the solution for you. Warlord Games is now the proud sponsor of the Mordian Glory channel, and they have given me an affiliate link. By clicking on that link down in the description below, you'll be able to get yourself some fantastic World War II bolt action miniatures. These finely detailed models are the perfect way of finding yourself a hobby that will finally get you out of the masturbatorum.
I'll make that deal. How about you? You make that deal?
I'd make that deal.
Damn good deal.
So what are you waiting for? Click on the affiliate link down below, support the channel, and get off the sofa. So overall, I was in command of 3 different armies in the D-Day battle. I was controlling the 709th Static Infantry Division, defending the beaches of Utah, and then I had the 243rd Infantry Division and the 91st Infantry Division as well. These were staged behind the beaches, defending areas like Cherbourg and near the Khotan Peninsula. And each one of these forces did have some soft restrictions on what I could take. Now, these weren't too hard. It wasn't prescriptive telling me exactly what models I needed or anything like that. Rather, there was just a few little barriers on the edges, shall we say, to try and make the battle a bit more immersive. For example, in the 709th Static Infantry Division, I was only allowed to take inexperienced troops. And for my other 2 armies, I was only allowed to take regulars and just a few veterans here and there. Also, I had some limitations on what heavy armor I could take, so I wasn't able to take a Tiger Tank or a King Tiger. But other than that, it was a case of fill your boots, son, bring what you like, and have fun with it. But that just about covers all of the general high-level stuff. But I know that you guys want to see the units. You want to get up close and personal. What were the loadouts? What were the decisions behind each choice that I made? Well, you know what? I'm not going to blue ball you any further. Let's get down into the weeds. Starting off, we have got the 709th Static Infantry Division, which I very quickly nicknamed the Shit Munchers, not only because of their quality, but also because of the job they were going to be asked to do. So this was a 300-point army, and it was only allowed to have inexperienced forces. And in fact, the brief that I was given is that these were essentially Osttruppen wearing German uniforms and manning the defences. To that end, I decided to really lean into the vibe of this unit, and I took an inexperienced platoon commander with an SMG, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 units of Osttruppen. Osttruppen are really bad. They're not only inexperienced, but they're also shirkers. So they basically melt and disappear the moment anyone looks at them. Now, each one of these Osttruppen squads had the same loadout. I decided to try and keep them fairly similar. A, because I knew they weren't going to be around that long, so I didn't want to mess around with complex loadouts. But also, I knew I was going to be commanding some larger forces as well. So I wanted to try and keep things as simple as possible. So I went with a single LMG in each Osttruppen squad. The idea is they're going to sit behind the defences, spraying LMG fire out, trying to do a few casualties, trying to do a few pins, and if they can delay the Americans landing on Utah Beach for even a single turn, then it will have been worth it. They will have done their job. Backing up this rifle platoon, I also had a heavy weapons platoon consisting of a single MG42 medium machine gun team and a medium mortar and a platoon commander. The platoon commander was inexperienced with an SMG, and both of these weapon teams were also inexperienced. Because the mortar was inexperienced, it meant that I couldn't take a spotter for it. That's why I've not got one. Otherwise, I do tend to say that taking spotters is fairly mandatory on your medium mortars. To be honest, there's not much more to say about this force. It was just 300 points of static infantry dug in, and they were all inexperienced. They were the shit munchers. Let's go over to the 243rd Infantry Division, because this is where we start getting into the spicy meatballs. And it's only right when doing a German army review to start off with the Panzers. I had an armoured platoon with a veteran Panzer IV, and I did pay for the Schutzen, and I took him as veteran because he is my command tank, and I wanted him to be a Panzer VIII. He is quite an expensive boy. He's coming in at about 300 points, roughly, give or take, about 300 points, and his job was really to support the other tanks, but also to be an absolute weapon, to be completely lethal against any enemy armor that he comes across. Because he's got a heavy anti-tank gun, but he gets the +1 pen thanks to being a Panzer VIII, which almost makes it like a pseudo super heavy anti-tank gun. It's very, very nice. Combine that with the fact that he has got a medium machine gun and a coaxial medium machine gun, and truth be told, he can take on anything. He's got the 2-inch template for if he wants to do HE damage, and he's got loads of medium machine gun shots if he wants to hose down infantry at close range. Supporting the Panzer IV, we had 2 regular Panzer IIIs, and both of these were medium tanks with medium machine guns and the medium anti-tank gun. One of them I paid for the side skirts. Normally I don't bother, but it was a narrative game, it was a fun game, it's a historical game, so I thought, you know what, let's go full WYSIWYG and let's just embrace the vibes. So both of them actually have got the Schutzerd and it has been paid for. Now the idea with these Panzers was that the Panzer VIII would obviously be the head honcho going after enemy tanks and whatever else you need to go after, but these guys were much more take-all-comers. They were there to just, whatever the enemy threw onto the beaches, whatever the enemy threw onto the battlefield, I'd have a unit that would be able to deal with all situations. Truth be told, the whole vibe with, the whole plan with these Panzers was to act as a bit of a rapid reaction force. I wasn't exactly sure where the enemy was going to break through. I wasn't exactly sure what the layout of the map was going to be. I didn't know what composition of enemy forces I would be facing, but I knew that there was going to inevitably be some kind of American breakout, some kind of American concentration of forces, and I was going to need some mobile firepower that can go over any terrain to plug the gaps, hold the line, and respond to the greatest of allied threats. And that's what these Panzers were there to do. I also had a second platoon here, and this was just a pretty quintessential heavy weapons platoon. We've got a regular officer with a rifle, we've got a medium mortar with a spotter, it is regular veterancy, and then we've got 2 regular veterancy medium machine gun teams. These guys were going to be dug into positions, they were going to go into nice hard cover, and the idea was they were going to create a few strong points and some cheap firepower. However, I have played some of these big games before, and I know that these small 3-man teams don't last too long. But the idea was that either they would draw fire or the enemy would ignore them and they'd be able to punch a bit above their weight. But they were very much, if these were more rapid reaction, these were very much more static defense. Finally, we had the Infantry Corps. Because every day on the Corps, it's like a day on the farm. Every meal a banquet, every paycheck a fortune, every formation a parade. I love the Corps. This was my rifle platoon. Everything in this platoon was regular. I had a regular platoon commander with a rifle, and then I had 2 Asgrens. If you play Company of Heroes 2, you'll know what that means. I had assault grenadiers. So all 4 of these squads were just using the German Heer Grenadier unit entry. But I broke them down into two distinct loadouts for two distinct battlefield roles. I had two 5-man squads with just an LMG in each, and they were going to fulfill a similar role to these guys. Dig in and just provide firepower and be a relatively tough nut to crack with all of the heavy cover that I was likely to have at my disposal. These guys, though, the Asgrens, the Assault Grenadiers, were loaded up with mobile firepower. So each squad has got 3 assault rifles and an SMG, and then 3 basic guys with rifles just to catch the first bullets. My thinking is, between the more static defences and the more mobile counter-attacking forces, the 243rd Division was very much going to be my generalist army. It was going to be able to do a little bit of everything, regardless of the tasks that it was called upon to do. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. The final bit of the rifle platoon was a medic, a sniper, and an anti-tank rifle. I'm actually quite a big fan of medics. I have found that you just need to roll 1 or 2 6s and they do tend to get the points back, giving you that feel no pain. Again, it kind of led and lent into the whole more defensive side of things, because if I've got some infantry dug into hard cover with LMGs, and then I've got a medic nearby, that's actually adds another layer of defense. As for the sniper and the AT rifle, well, the AT rifle is just a nice cheap extra dice in the bag, and it's not too bad when you're trying to deal with veterans. I tend to find I'm not that bothered about using it to go after enemy vehicles, but having something with +2 pen, slinging it into veteran infantry, can actually be quite nice. And then as for the sniper, well, I'm not the biggest fan of snipers, but I haven't run one in a long time, and I thought that it was a bit of a fluffy choice, and it was more in keeping with the idea of the event. Not everything needs to be super duper optimized. I figured, you know what, if there's any chance for a sniper to do well, it'll be in a big game where he can tuck into somewhere, hopefully be forgotten about, and he can just start picking people off from the enemy force whilst they're dealing with all of the other more obvious threats. But then we get to the final force that I was in command of, and this was the 91st Infantry Division. Now, the 91st and the 243rd were both 1,300 point armies, but the 91st had another restriction on it. It wasn't allowed to take any tanks. In fact, I was only really meant to take armor value of sort of 7 or 8 maximum. And so you'll notice as we go over to our first platoon here, the armor platoon, that it's very much a light, a light armored platoon. Heading up this platoon, we had the Puma armored car, and this was the command vehicle as well. Now, the Puma has got armor 8, which is pretty good for an armored car. It's the heaviest thing in this platoon. And it also has a medium anti-tank gun and a coaxial medium machine gun. Now, its firepower is both good and bad. The medium AT, combined with the armor 8, combined with the fact that it's got recce, means that it can actually harass enemy armor and be a bit of a nuisance. But with only having a medium machine gun, it can struggle a bit into infantry. Supporting the Puma, we have got the Marder 3. That's right, it's Marden time. I absolutely love the Marder at just 145, 155 points. It's pretty cheap, and it has a heavy anti-tank gun, and it has a medium machine gun. Of course, it is only armor 7, and it's open-topped, so it does die to a stiff breeze. But the idea I had with this thing was to get it dug into a nice static position where it could just cover a choke point, maybe like a road. It could go on ambush or something like that. And any American armor or Allied armor that makes it off the beach and starts to head inland, they were going to be met with this thing. It was going to be more of an ambush tank rather than something that was going to be moving around and trying to do lots of rapid reaction kind of stuff. Finally, we have got the 250 half-track with the autocannon. This is essentially just an armor 7 vehicle which has got an autocannon with a coaxial medium machine gun. Full truth moment. This thing is in the army because I wanted another vehicle and it was the only one left available. But you know what? I actually kind of like that. I kind of like the vibe of that, because we're not meant to be running the most optimized lists. We're meant to be running forces that have maybe been cobbled together, whatever has been available on the Western Front for the Germans. And so just having like a cheeky half-track with a cheeky autocannon, whilst it doesn't quite fit in with, as you can see, the rest of the tanks, which have all got like good anti-tank weapons, medium AT or something, you can't go wrong with a cheeky mobile autocannon. And it actually, and not to give too much away, ended up performing pretty well. I was quite impressed with it over the course of the game. This last vehicle, strictly speaking, wasn't part of the armoured platoon, but I've put it here with the other vehicles because it did essentially run around providing some fire support. It was my Opel Blitz truck, which was equipped with a medium machine gun. I should also mention that all of these vehicles were regular veterancy. In fact, everything in this army except for this officer was regular veterancy. Speaking of the wider army, we had an artillery platoon with an inexperienced officer with a pistol and a flak 88 with a spotter. Oh yeah, that's right. Big Bertha is out to play. I actually painted this guy up the night before the event because I really wanted to use him. I've had my flak 88 since I started playing bot action, pretty much 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even longer, and I've never really used him. I'd built it, but I'd never really painted it, and it was always because it felt just slightly too expensive in a normal game of bot action. It's a static piece. It's coming in at like roughly 200 points. It's hard to take something like that in a normal game. But in a game like this, it's perfect. I dug this thing in. It went on to a proper hard point, and it was lethal. It was slinging those 3-inch template shots thanks to its super heavy anti-tank gun, and it was slinging those shots left, right, and centre. This was the bane of the Allied forces, and I have to say, it's really nice to see a unit like the Flak 88 get a chance to shine, and it's a really good testament to these big games that you get to bring stuff that you wouldn't normally feel like you could do. The final part of the 91st was the infantry platoon, the rifle platoon. This was a bit of a mixed bag. I just went for whatever remaining infantry that I had left. The idea was a bit like with the unwanted autocannon half-track. The idea behind it was the Germans were just sort of putting whatever units they could together to try and make some cohesive fighting forces. So you'll notice that the loadouts on this platoon are a lot more random and varied in comparison to the loadouts here. And that was partially a collection restriction issue, and it was also partially leading into the vibes as well. So we had a unit of assault grenadiers here. We had 3 assault rifles and an SMG and 3 rifles. And then we had a unit with 3 assault rifles, an SMG and an LMG with loader and a couple of rifles. And then we had a unit with 1 assault rifle, 2 SMGs and an LMG and 4 rifles. And we had another unit with an assault rifle, 2 SMGs, an LMG and 4 rifles. Just whatever assault weapons, LMGs and rifles I had left over, taken in the larger squads that I could with the rifles that I had remaining. I think I actually did end up using every single one of my snowy base rifle guys. In fact, this guy isn't even a plastic rifle. He's a metal rifle model from one of my weapon teams. So I had to conscript someone. He's like, normally I'm loading like a Panzerschreck or something, but today I'm just firing a rifle. As it turned out, these infantry squads with this loadout actually worked quite well. They were very generalist. They could sit back and hose things down with LMGs, or they could get up close and personal and fill people in with SMGs and assault rifles. I was a little worried that the loadouts just weren't quite going to work on the tabletop, but when you're playing in a big game with a constantly evolving battlefield situation, and there's like 16 turns potentially that you're going to be playing over 2 days, having units with a bit more flexibility actually worked out all right. I wasn't let down by them in any way, shape or form. Rounding out the rifle platoon, we had a light mortar, a Panzerschreck team to add a bit more anti-tank, and then we had a sniper team, again because I wanted to try them out, and we had an officer with an SMG and he had an extra bloke with him who also had an SMG. But that just about covers everything. In total, the forces under my command came to just under 2,900 points. There were 7 vehicles, 5 fixed weapon teams, 1 big ass artillery piece, and 93 other infantry models. But of course, this is just what I chose to take. Let me know down in the comments section below what you would do if you were in my position. If you had to take 300 points of inexperience, 1,300 points, 1,300 points, no heavy armor, what lists would you come up with? I really look forward to seeing how you guys would approach the defense of Utah and also Cherbourg. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button. It is a massive help, especially when I am covering a game like Bot Action, which is, you know, it doesn't quite get the views as something like Warhammer 40k, so any support that you can give to the video massively helps boost it with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to make sure that you catch the After Action report and see these forces in action, then please don't forget to subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Redfield, 32, Jurgens, Miasma, Try Again, Bragg, R.J., Scorpion, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Nicholas Walsh, John Stubbs, Guardian, Varney, Sword, Fish Trombone, Picklock the Forged. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.